Tiny climate heroes, the story of mosses and lichens. So all the diversity plays a role. So the more diverse the plant cover is, the more effective the climate cooling is. And there are other processes at work. Even the tiniest things like mosses. Well, people think important biodiversity is all about the rainforest. The rainforest, of course, it's absolutely central to the planet cooling. But also mosses have been found to be, per area, they capture more carbon than trees do. And mosses are natural sponges. So some research has showed that even the tiniest moss is taking climate action. Mosses and lichens are the first responders. If there is a volcano or something like that, and you're just left with deserted barren land, it's the mosses and lichens that come first and begin the process of starting to build a soil. They secrete organic acids that start to break down the rocks, and they begin the whole process of soil building, which the scientists call pedogenesis. And soil building is the essential first responder step before the other plants can move in and start to build an ecosystem. So it's not just the big trees and the rainforest, it's the mosses, it's the mix of flowers, wildflowers and grasses that make up a healthy grassland. And it's even things like snails. Because one of the other most important climate cooling processes that goes on in the world is not biological, it's mineral. It's a thing called carbonation. Carbonation is where carbon dioxide combines with a mineral like calcium and forms something like calcium carbonate or calcium bicarbonate, chalks and limestones. If you talk to a geologist about carbon capture, they're not worried about plants. They know that rocks do the heavy lifting. Rocks do more carbon capture than plants do, mostly through that calcium carbonation, calcium carbonate. Plankton in the ocean with little shells, they do that in gigatons every year, and it's those plankton shells that form the massive chalk deposits that are like the cliffs of Dover. All that chalk and limestone comes from a climate cooling process that the tiny plankton do. But even in your garden, a snail is using exactly that same process of carbonation to make it a shell. So in your garden, the mosses and the snails are taking climate actions, and the wildflowers are taking climate action. And they're using exactly the same processes of climate cooling that make the rainforests so important and make the oceans so important. Exactly the same process happening in everybody's garden, everybody's patch. And we wanted to take that story out and tell people, look, you're part of the same systems and part of the same cycles that's happening globally and been happening globally for millions of years. And it's these systems that keep the whole planet cool and keep the planet safe. If everything from rainforests to local trees, shrubs and mosses and the snails in your garden is taking climate action, those things are empowered, and you can be too, by working with nature. That's collective climate repair.